Yo, what's up, everyone? In this next podcast, James and I are going to discuss one of these crazy trips that I had to Korea because I had to change my visa. And it was like a experience that I'll never forget. So check it out.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Yamatodamashii podcast. My name is James, and today, obviously, we're joined by the man himself, Mr. Enson Inoue. Enson, how's quarantine going? I believe it's nearly over, right?
Yeah, one more day, man. Today is my second to the last day. Tomorrow's the last day, and doing great. I mean, when you have dogs and kois in a big yard, it's not that bad. And you quarantine at home, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, put your feet up. Finally get to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
So apologies. It's been a while since we've done one of these podcasts. It's all on me with my bad throat, which is the worst thing you could get for a podcast, right? A bad throat. So, but we're back. We're back. And today we're going to have a look at one of the stories that's in your book. And it's probably one that probably doesn't come up too much, very often. But it's a story about how you went to go renew your visa. So talk to me first initially about going to Japan. Like, what sort of prompted you to actually make the travels? We talked a little bit about in the early days about your training, but how about it from a point of view of just actually wanting to go there originally in the first place before you even sort of training was on your mind?
It was actually a trip for racquetball. And I really had no interest in going to Japan. Although I am Japanese blood, I saw the Japanese nationals as different people. I always thought the girls had crooked teeth, hair on their legs, and we saw them as like tourists in Hawaii that took pictures of everything and wore weird clothing. So for me, there was no interest in going to Japan except the fact that I was going to get a free paid trip to play racquetball. And I gotta admit, in the back of my heart, there was this my roots. I'd like to see where my roots are. But and it wasn't something that I really looked forward to. I just saw a free trip, play Japanese players in Japan. The racquetball level isn't that good, so I think I could probably win the tournament and have a nice trip, free trip, and enjoy the new world. So that's all it was about. The thing that really surprised me when I got there was Hawaii is a melting pot of America. They call it the melting pot of America, but because there are so many different ethnic groups in Hawaii. You have the Chinese, the Japanese, the Filipinos, the Koreans, the Samoans, the Tongans, Vietnamese. You have all the different races, and we're all mixed into one group. So whenever we never call ourselves Americans there. We always call ourselves by our ethnic race. Like we say I'm Japanese. Oh, he's Vietnamese. Although he's not, he's still American. He's Vietnamese. So for me, I had that notion that I was Japanese, and when I went there, I was blown away by the fact that I was a foreigner. I wasn't Japanese. I was a foreigner. I mean, I was a fourth generation Japanese American, but you can only get proper visas up until second generation, and I was the fourth generation, and it was like I couldn't stay there. I was a foreigner. I couldn't stay there. I had to get a visa to work. If I didn't have a visa, I only could stay there for 3 months. So it blew me away. I was like, wow, I'm not Japanese. And I think the first time I ever called myself an American was when I was in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole ordeal is what created that trip. We want to talk about today is a trip to Korea. I mean, I had 3 months and I had to leave the country after 3 months or I would be overextending my tourist visa.
Yeah.
And of course, for us, the cheapest and closest trip from Japan was Korea, was Seoul, Korea.
Mm-hmm.
It was like depending on the time, it could cost from $150 to $300 round trip to Korea. And it was like a 2.5 hour flight. So for us, the most feasible and the most, the quickest way to have to leave the country to get a proper new visa was Korea. So that's what brought that Korean trip about.
Mm-hmm. So was your first impression of Korea? Obviously, we'll get into the craziness, but going from coming to Japan for the first time, having your first 90 days there, and then seeing Korea, how much of a contrast was that?
Well, in the beginning at the airport, everything was the same. I still didn't understand that. I still didn't understand Japanese. So when I got there, I still didn't understand Korean. Got there, immigration, all that process, got my bags. And I remember I got tips from a friend to go to Itaewon. It's a town in I think there's a military base near Itaewon. It's a town in South Korea that
Mhm.
has a lot of tourist shops and hotels, and it's like a tourist little place. So I remember my first thing, everything's normal, everything's the same. Okay, cool, cool. I get in the cab and I go tell the cab driver Itaewon, and the first thing is he can't understand what I'm saying. So I go, oh shit, that's all I got is Itaewon. So I kept repeating Itaewon, Itaewon, Itaewon. I try to go to all different pronunciations of it, and he finally goes, ah, and it's funny. I get this in Japanese too, but it's like I'm saying Itaewon, Itaewon, and he can't understand it. And like about a minute later, he goes, oh, Itaewon. And I'm like, that's what I said, you know. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, guy in the cab, he finally figured it out. And you know what was trippy? I think I wrote in my book too, but I paid a fee. Okay, we get in. He starts the meter, right?
Mhm.
We get in the cab, and we're sitting in the cab, and it's like he starts pulling over for someone, waving the taxi down. I'm like, whoa, what is he doing? I'm thinking, okay, is he going to ask the guy the time or ask directions? What is he doing? He's a taxi cab driver. He stops. The guy jumps in the cab. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell is going on here? This is my cab.
Mm.
He goes and he continues driving, and I'm sitting there and I can't even ask him what he's doing because he's I don't speak Korean. And he's driving, and then he pulls over, collects the money from the guy, and the guy jumps out while my meter's still running. And I think on that one trip from the airport to Itaewon, we picked up two people.
Yeah, it's a far trip though, right? Because I remember
Yeah,
I
it's a
went to
far trip. It's about a 30 to 40-minute ride
yeah,
to Itaewon. And did
the
you do that? Did you ride the cab there before?
yeah. No,
Did they pick up other
I got a
people too?
coach. I got a coach, and it took ages because it goes over like a giant bridge. I can't remember what the bridge is called. And it
Yeah,
just
no,
I
we
just
went over the Giant Bridge. Yeah, we
yeah, I
drove
remember
along
it's
the river and then goes over the Giant Bridge.
and I
And
remember thinking,
I
"Wow,
remember
this is
thinking,
really,
wow,
really
this is
far
really, really
away,"
far
but
away, but
I didn't have to
I
deal
didn't
with,
have to deal.
some people jumping in on my ride.
Yeah, man. I mean, apparently, I don't know what it is like today, but apparently, when I talked to some of my friends when I got home, that's not an unusual thing. I really don't know how to figure out the fares because they didn't stop my fare. So I wonder if it just verbally said, "Where are you going?" Okay, that'll cost you this much, and they just paid them like that. So
Mhm,
that for me was the first thing that I was like, "Holy shit." I'm not in Hawaii, and this is definitely not Japan because in Japan that kind of shit don't happen.
mhm,
So yeah, that was my first thing. Is wow, got to Itaewon and I paid the amount that was shown on the meter and got out. And the thing about you guys got to learn about me is that I'm kind of an adventurer. Yeah, I have a friend, like Darren. We talked to Darren. Yeah, Darren's the type of
mhm,
guy that would like to have everything planned out. Okay, where are we staying? How are we getting there? How much it's going to cost? And have all the reservations in. I'm the total opposite. I'll be like, okay, we get the plane ticket. Okay, we go to Itaewon. Oh, there's a lot of hotels in the area. Cool. I'll find one when I get there. So
work
I mean,
out.
if I don't find one, I'll something will happen. I'll find something. So that's what happened. Is when I got there, I got out and didn't have a hotel. So that was the first thing I had to do was look for a hotel. Of course, I'm trying to save money. I didn't have that much money at the time. I still don't have that much money right now, but I didn't have. I had even less money at the time, so I was trying to bargain and get the cheapest hotel. Finally found this place like, you know, if you've been to Korea and Itaewon, you walk down, they have all the shops, and then they have little lanes you turn in to the left and you go down the stairs and there's more shops, and then it gets a little more secluded.
Mhm,
Well, that's where the hotel I found was. It was you go down, you just go down, there's shops. Oh, there's no more shops. You go down there and it's like there's a little red door and it's like, fuck, that's a hotel. It was cheap as shit. My
mhm.
shower didn't work. My bed was hard. And that's where I had to call home for 3 days.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a weird trip, right? Because the purpose of the trip is just to sort of get out so you can get another visa in Japan. What When you first got there, like what was your thinking? Like, how am I going to spend these 3 days?
Yeah, so well, so my whole thing about that was getting a visa. So I was going to just survive. I brought very minimal money. My money was just to eat and maybe do some shopping because the rumor there is, clothing, leather was really cheap in Korea.
Mhm.
So, okay, brought enough money to maybe buy a leather jacket or something and, just pass the 3 days, as fast as I can without spending so much money. So that's all it was. And I'm thinking just gonna check out the nightlife, see what there are, see if there's any bars or cute chicks around, just the usual dude thing to check out, throughout the night.
Mhm. So, and then in your book, you kind of talked about how you went to check out some bars, and then you thought, oh, check this one out, but it didn't really go according to how you had planned, right? It was supposed to be a one drink and then done. So,
Yeah, for one, it was freaking cold. It's a lot colder in Japan. It was snowing that night.
shit.
And my little adventurous self didn't want to stay in that dirty little room that I had, and I wanted to just explore, walk around. So I got out of the hotel. I know I turned right out of from my hotel, walked up the street, and there's a hotel called Hamilton Hotel. It's a really big hotel. If you've been there, you probably at the time there was a Baskin and Robbins on the floor below it, and there was one of the nice hotels. It was a little bit costly for me, so I didn't stay there. But across the street from the Hamilton Hotel, there was a lane up there, and it was kind of like the red light district. So there was little bars and discos, and you had lines of people standing outside. So I figure I'll just check it out, stroll the streets to walk around. And I remember walking around, walked up that street. I remember walking up the street, and as I'm walking up the street, there's a girl's hanging outside the bar trying to get me into the bar, and I'm thinking, kind of sketchy, kind of
Mhm.
I don't know what that is. Well, and it wasn't like a strip joint or anything. It was just bars. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't drink. I don't know the language. What should I do? So I'm walking by, pass. And then on the way down the hill, I figured, you know what? I'll have a drink. How much could one drink cost? So these couple girls were outside and they kind of said, come in and just have a drink. I said, okay, I'll go. Sat down. I had a drink. And then, for me, I was like, yeah, I'll have a drink and see what's up. I mean, I'm not there to, try and buy the girls or take them home or even be friends with them. I just wanted the experience to sit down and get a drink. I have
Mhm.
one drink, so I get a drink, and then they sit down and they want to buy drinks too. And I'm thinking, oh no, because in Hawaii we have these things we call it Korean bars that there's Korean hostesses that sit down by you and they charge you like $20 a drink, just to buy like watered down alcohol so they can just drink it down and try and get another one from you. And the girls in Hawaii sometimes literally will get a $20 drink, drink it down and go, "Can I have one more?" It's like, holy shit. In like 10 seconds, you just got a $40 tab. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, they sit down, three girls sit down. I remember two across me, one on the side of me. And I don't know what I should just correct me if what I'm writing in the book, because what I wrote in the book is exactly what I remember. And this is what I remember. So I remember it was like three girls, and then I remember they all wanted drinks,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh no, I'm not buying nobody drinks. I don't want to spend money. I didn't have that much money. I didn't, I wasn't about trying to butter them up, get to know them or anything. I know they were bar girls, and I wasn't going to get sucked into that, walking out of the Hawaii bar with a $300 tab, and you like,
Mhm.
I drank like two drinks, and all these girls came up and asked for drinks. So I declined it, and I remember the girl next to me kind of was getting a little aggressive. Like, what do you mean you're not going to buy us drinks? Buy us a drink. I'm like, and as they get aggressive, I was getting a little more defensive. Yeah, so I'm going like, you know what? Stop. I don't want to buy you a drink. I'm going to have my drink and I'm going to leave. So that was how my idea is have my drink and I'm going to leave. They start getting pissed off. They're getting pissed off that I'm not going to buy them a drink. So I'm like, whoa, this is getting a little bit out of hand. So I'm thinking, okay, there's these girls. They're they're getting pissed off, but you know what? I'm not going to get swindled into spending a couple $100s here and just for one drink. Forget it. I'm gonna leave, man. And then so I'm there. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna leave soon. And then these girls get real pissed off, and tell me all of a sudden they tell me that I can't leave. Oh shit, Bernie. Yeah, so they tell me that I can't leave, and I'm like, holy shit. Okay, so then I'm realizing that they're getting mad, and for us, I don't know what your guys' experience with Koreans are, but in Hawaii, there's like you have a customer come to your jewelry store and they want to buy something, and then you try to jute on the price, and then some people like to try and keep their customers, so they say, they try to be nice and say, you know what, next time, if you come back, I had this is the price. But in Hawaii, some of the Korean ladies that run the jewelry stores there, if you don't go down to their price and you say, you know what, I'm gonna go look around, and the last price they give you, you say, I'll think about it. They won't be try to play the game and say, okay, come back if you want. They'll straight up come on and tell you, don't ever come back to my shop.
Oh,
Yeah, so
damn.
that hostility and that aggression that they have, I had that in my head thinking, holy shit, these girls are pissed off that I'm not gonna buy them a drink. So
Mhm.
I thought, okay, let's go the other way now. I think instead of getting a huge problem, I'm probably better off buying them drinks. So I go the other way and say, okay, you know what? I'll buy you guys drinks. I'll buy you guys one drink. And then to my surprise, that girl was already pissed off and she said, we don't want drinks anymore. And I'm like, holy shit, I got to get out of here. So my whole
Mhm.
thing was, I got to get out of here. And I didn't want to get up and try and leave the room, because I didn't want, they're to a point where they were getting aggressive when they were mad. So I get up and I say, I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I remember it was a dark bar. So I remember walking out to the bathroom. And then I remember there was these guys that came out from the back. And then when I went to the bathroom, they came into the bathroom with me. So I'm standing there and I'm peeing and I'm thinking, holy shit, this is this is not right, because these
Mhm.
guys didn't come from the outside, they came from the back. So I go and I pee. After I pee, I'm washing my hands, and the guy's standing behind me. And so right there, my heart is pounding, and I'm in my head. I'm thinking, shit, this is going to go crazy, man. And my adrenaline's going up. I'm getting excited. I'm coming to a point where I've got to make a decision. I've got to do something. I mean, I'm afraid this guy's going to grab me. I don't know if there's more guys outside, so I'm thinking, holy shit. So I remember after washing my hand, the guy was already pretty close to me. I remember getting this adrenaline rush and just pretty much grabbing the guy, and kind of like the movies, I grabbed him and I ran his head into the mirror. The mirror
Shit.
shattered, and he got all bloody. He fell to the ground. And for me, it wasn't like I wasn't fighting him, because if I was, I would jump on him and start beating him up. I was pretty much trying to get myself out of the situation. So after that, I left him on the ground, went out the door, and I started heading towards the door. And what was amazing is when I was heading towards the door, those three girls made a barricade across the door. And for me, I was like, you don't want to hit girls, you don't want to run girls over. But for me, I was like, you know what? It's life and death for me right now. Like, I just heard a guy in the bathroom. I don't know if there's going to be more guys coming out. I don't know if he's going to get up. I don't know if he had something in his hand or something to
Mhm.
get me, So I remember my adrenaline just rushing, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to get out of here.
Mhm.
I remember just running to the door, and I remember those girls just stood there and pretty much stood their ground. And I just ran through them. Yeah. I remember just running through them and opening the door and running down the street. I remember running down the street in the snow. Now it's snowing.
Yeah.
I'm running down the street. I remember getting down to the bottom of the street, turning a corner, looking back, and no one was chasing me. So I jogged down the street back to my hotel, and I had my shirt was all bloodied. It was my I remember it was my favorite Gracie Jiu Jitsu shirt, and it was all bloodied, and I was just just scared of being recognized and being found. So I
Yeah.
threw the shirt away
Oh,
and
man.
was in my hotel. And I was really from that point on the trip, I was really afraid to leave the hotel,
Mhm.
of afraid of being recognized. Of course, I'm at the next 2 nights that I was there, I didn't go near that area.
Mhm.
But
You just
man,
avoid it.
Yeah, I just avoided it, and it was like shit. It was a crazy experience for me. It was like I still remember it today. Like it gets me a little nervous when I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the questions I was really keen to know is like, have you been back to Korea since?
Yes, many
Oh, okay.
times.
Oh, right, cool.
Because I ended up making my racquetball gloves in Korea because
Oh,
their labor is really cheap. So I would bring leather from Japan, bring it to a office in Korea, and have them make it for me. So yes, and the next question you probably want to know is if I've been back to that area. Yes, I have been back to that area. I
yeah.
have walked past that bar again
Really?
during the day.
All right.
And I did go stroll that area at night, but things have changed. It's not the same.
Hmm.
And I don't know what it is like now, but I think the last time I went to Korea and went to that area was gotta have been at least like 25 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
So I don't know what it's like now. I mean, I would like to take Sarah to Korea. You know, it's a nice place. The shopping's interesting. The
Yeah.
people are different. The food's good.
Food's wicked. Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, of course, I do want to go back, and if I ever do, I'm gonna make sure I bring my phone, record the walk,
Yeah.
and go have take a walk to and walk past that bar and see if it's even still there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely. No, it's such a wild story, just because I think a lot of people that maybe have gone traveling or like gone to a foreign country when you're on your own, it's such like a daunting feeling anyway. But to be put in that situation where it's kind of like fight or flight, right? Where you literally, it's a wild story, man.
You know,
Or
the thing about it is that, I mean, I got scared. I got so scared that I was willing to just, pay whatever I had to. You guys want ridiculous $20 drinks?
Mhm.
Okay, three girls. Okay, I'll buy you all a drink, lose $60 and just leave. I was willing to do that, but the hard thing about the whole situation was they weren't. They were like past that point. Like, no, too late. Like I'm like sitting there like, what the fuck? But
Mhm.
inside, I'm like, huh? What do you mean too late? Too late? I'm like
Yeah,
freaking
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my god! I go to the bathroom.
Yeah. No, I've never been to a hostess bar, but I've kind of in Japan, I heard a few stories about people like foreigners going and not really knowing where they were and kind of ended up with these huge tabs and stuff like that. But so is
Yeah,
it kind of
you go into the
common?
wrong districts like Shinjuku. Yeah, I had
Mm.
some fighters from my gym do that. They went into a some kind of hostess bar, and then when they were leaving, they got hit with like a $3,000 tab. When the guy that brought him in the bar told him like only $20 each,
Mm.
and it was run. Of course, those bars are run by yakuza. So
Mhm.
I sent one of my friends. I wasn't in the area at the time. So I had to call one of my friends, one of my gangster friends, to go down and sort it out, and he went down and sorted it out.
That's
But
good.
it's kind of funny because they're Japanese guys. You know what I mean? It's not like only foreigners are getting taken advantage
Really?
of. These guys are doing that shit to Japanese guys. So
Wow.
kind of interesting. Yeah. So I guess
Yeah.
you have it all over the place, and I was one of the just unfortunate situation where I walked into one of those bars.
Mhm. That is a cool story. But yeah, so no, it'll be interesting to see when you go back and you just take some pictures and just see how much has changed. Maybe it's still there. Maybe they're still trying to scam people, but I doubt it. To be honest, I think
Yeah,
probably
you
times
never.
have
I don't know, man. Maybe it's even worse. You with the times,
Mhm.
some things get better, things get worse. So you
Yeah.
never know, man.
Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode because we've got quite a few more episodes in the pipeline looking to come. We're going to be talking about this weekend's UFC as well. So everyone look out for those episodes. But Ensign, any parting words before we wrap this one up?
Yeah. Today during quarantine I had some time, so I kind of put some things together right here. So there's one that made of all crystals.
Awesome. That's for
There
me.
was made for someone that liked the clear colors. 14 centimeters, and then I made one for someone that likes dark colors, and it's like has a Yamatodamashii in the middle,
Oh,
dragons on the side,
that is
and
awesome.
I believe it was 18 centimeters. Yeah.
I don't
But
know
yeah.
who this
So
person is, but they're a very lucky
yeah,
person.
and then just to let this person know if she's watching this podcast that when you open, there's a slide knot, so you pull it open. Yeah,
That is awesome.
you pull it open to get your hand in, and then you shut it closed. So
I'm sure that person is super, super grateful for the rest of his life. So
made
Yes,
and
sir.
done, and then we'll probably be sending it out tomorrow. So,
Awesome.
all right. But
That
anyway,
is
just wanted
wicked.
to put that on the podcast, destinyforever.com.
Yeah, everyone check it out because the bracelets are awesome. So, and you're going back to Hawaii soon, right? So, chance to sort of sell them in person, I guess.
Yep. Going back to Hawaii. Also anybody that's watching this, if you guys want, I can do a podcast on my phone. The computer there is a better setup, but I can do something on the phone, make a sacrifice. Maybe you guys want to see me, talk with James while I'm at the beach, or go somewhere, or give us some notes, give us some tips, and then we'll figure something out, and maybe give us some ideas for the next podcast. Of course,
Yeah.
we're gonna do the ones with the UFC. We want to do. There's a couple rising events in October, so we want to talk about those. So, um, again, subscribe, like, and just let us know if there's anything we can do that you guys have an idea that could be better.
Yeah. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll speak to you again soon.